confusion. You caused me confusion. You told me you cared. These calling these changes, a loss in the end. Ask me no questions, I'll tell you no lies. The past is the present, the future is mine. You just can't believe me when I show you what you mean to me. You just can't believe me when I show you what you cannot see. You just can't believe me when I show you what you mean to me. You just can't believe me when I show you what you cannot see. Tell me you need me, I'll make it this time. Fate won't divide us, the sensation survives. I was sure that I told you, it was clear from your face. You caused me some problems, you've taken my place.
Good evening. The coronavirus is the biggest threat this country has faced for decades, and this country is not alone. All over the world, we're seeing the devastating impact of this invisible killer. And so tonight,
Don't lose yourself.
without a huge national effort to halt the growth of this virus, there will come a moment when no health service in the world could possibly cope.
Propaganda, propaganda, and all I see is propaganda, propaganda.
Four little holes along the top spike, they've got to see the four little bottom band. Raise it up above your ears to the top of your head. That's it. Nice. Yeah. Down has a thumb loop, which the light blue ones do. Use the thumb loop. So take your time, there's no hurry, but again, quite frequent.
The patients that we have received are step-downs from the Manchester Royal Hospital, so they have spent quite a few days in there being quite sick. When we've received those patients, they still need active nursing care, but we are kind of building them up ready to send them home.
Think about it is that sometimes stuff gets broken, right? So what we're trying to do there really good was, so we have two people who don't have 5%. Okay. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
It was a bit nerve-wracking at first because of just how many beds they've managed to fit in. It does become a bit overpowering when you first walk in there and you just see all these beds. But it's you know, it's a change of pace.
It's not just about the training as well, it's about any element of what we're setting out there. 2 weeks we'll set like any bit of the work that you do. So any
Every patient who comes here will have had a diagnosis of Covid-19. They'll all be coming, as it stands, from a hospital in the North West. All of them will be on the road to recovery, and so we're just working with all the providers across the North West to make sure that we get the right patients that help them deal with their surges in demand.
And all I see is propaganda, propaganda. And all I see is propaganda, propaganda. Yeah.
Possibly cope, because there won't be enough ventilators, enough intensive care beds, enough doctors and nurses. That is the moment of real danger. To put it simply, if too many people become seriously unwell at one time, the NHS will be unable to handle it, meaning more people are likely to die, not just from coronavirus, but from other illnesses as well.
And all I see is propaganda, propaganda. And all I see is propaganda, propaganda.
So it's vital to slow the spread of the disease, because that is the way we reduce the number of people needing hospital treatment at any one time, so we can protect the NHS's ability to cope and save more lives.
Big, big booty, what you got a big booty. Big, big booty, what you got a big booty. Big, big booty, what you got a big booty. Big, big booty, what you got a big booty.
Baby, come give me something, oh.
I'm a savage, yeah. Classy, bougie, ratchet, yeah. Sassy, moody.
Coronavirus!
Black leather glove, no sequin. Buckles on the jacket, it's elite shit. Nike crossbody, got a piece in. Gotta dance, but it's really on some street shit. I'ma show you how to get it. It go right foot up, left foot slide. Left foot up, right foot slide. Basically, I'm saying either way, we bout to slide. Hey, can't let this one fly. Hey. Don't you wanna dance with me?
LB say go na na na, go na na na, go na na go na na go na na.
So you bagged him. I'm a savage, yeah. Classy, bougie, ratchet, yeah. Sassy, moody, nasty, yeah. Acting stupid, what's happening? What's happening? I'm a savage, yeah.
Guess what, motherfucker?
And that's why we've been asking people to stay at home during this pandemic. And though huge numbers are complying, and I thank you all, the time has now come for us all to do more. From this evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home. Because the critical thing we must do to stop the disease spreading between households. That is why people will only be allowed to leave their home for the following very limited purposes.
On Sunday the 12th of April, 15 days after I first displayed symptoms, I decided to return to work. My wife was very worried, particularly given my eyesight had seemed to have been affected by the disease. She did not want to risk a nearly 300-mile drive with our child, given how ill I had been. We agreed that we should go for a short drive to see if I could drive safely. We drove for roughly half an hour and ended up on the outskirts of Barnard Castle town. We did not visit the castle, we did not walk around the town. We parked by a river. My wife and I discussed the situation. We agreed that I could drive safely, we should turn around and go home. I felt a bit sick. We walked about 10 to 15 metres from the car to the riverbank nearby. We sat there for about 15 minutes. We had no interactions with anybody. I felt better. We returned to the car. An elderly gentleman walking nearby appeared to recognise me. My wife wished him happy Easter from a distance, but we had no other interaction. We headed home. On the way home, our child needed the toilet. He was in the back seat of the car. We pulled over to the side of the road. My wife and child jumped out into the woods by the side of the road. They were briefly outside. I briefly joined them. They played for a little bit, and then I got out of the car, went outside. We were briefly in the woods. We saw some people at a distance, but at no point did we break any social distancing rules. We then got back in the car and went home.
All I see is propaganda.
Only be allowed to leave their home for the following very limited purposes. Shopping for basic necessities as infrequently as possible. One form of exercise a day, for example, a run, walk or cycle, alone or with members of your household. Any medical need to provide care or to help a vulnerable person, and travelling to and from work, but only where this is absolutely necessary and cannot be done from home. That's all. These are the only reasons you should leave your home.
Boris Johnson admits for the first time that he did attend a garden party at number 10 Downing Street. The problem, it took place in May of 2020, and at that time, the United Kingdom's government told everybody they could meet only one person, only outdoors, and they had to stay at least 6 feet apart. Today, Boris said he's sorry.
I want to apologise. I know that millions of people across this country have made extraordinary sacrifices over the last 18 months. I know the anguish that they have been through, unable to mourn their relatives, unable to live their lives as they want, or to do the things they love.
But like most politician apologies, there's also an excuse. Today, Boris Johnson insisted the garden party was actually a work event and that no COVID rules were broken. But he understands that most people would have a different take.
I believed implicitly that this was a work event. I should have recognised that even if it could be said technically to fall within the guidance, there would be millions and millions of people who simply would not see it that way.
Wonder why?
And all I see is propaganda, propaganda. Look what they...
I've today left hospital after a week in which the NHS has saved my life. No question.
Indoctrinated, they convince us all that everything we say is racist, and blood will change it, that's what happens. Y'all need balance, y'all need blacks and whites and lefts and rights to stop the madness. They planned it. It's Trump or Biden, we all been divided, riot in the streets. Elections have always been rigged, I ain't surprised when somebody cheats. All I see is pentagrams of the propaganda, but our priority's a vaccine. It ain't hard for wolves to find a flock when the sheep are fast asleep.
You should not be meeting friends. If your friends ask you to meet, you should say no.
After photographs of him kissing an assistant were published in a newspaper, Health Secretary Matt Hancock acknowledged violating social distance guidelines. He apologized for letting people down when photographs emerged of him with Gina Coladangelo, whom he appointed, and said he was extremely sorry. Labour asked a Prime Minister to fire Mr. Hancock, calling his position untenable. Downing Street, on the other hand, said Boris Johnson welcomed Mr. Hancock's apologies and considers the matter resolved. When asked if the Prime Minister had complete trust in Mr. Hancock, the PM's spokesperson said, yes. The Sun said that the photos of Mr. Hancock and Ms. Coladangelo, who are both married with children, were shot within the Department of Health in early May. Social distance in the job is not required by law, although it is advised by the government. People are recommended to stay 2 meters apart if feasible, or 1 meter if risk mitigation is used. On the 6th of May, when England was still under stage 2 of the COVID limitations, assembling indoors for work reasons was authorized, but only if reasonably required. If Matt Hancock has been covertly having a relationship with an advisor in his office, someone he personally recruited to a taxpayer-funded job, it is a flagrant misuse of authority and a clear conflict of interest, Labour Party chairperson Annalise Dodds said.
Too many people lack character, too many journalists scaring you, too many pencils attempting to rewrite the Constitution. They probably gonna tear it up. I love the country, but I don't trust the people taking care of us. We went to bed with the American dream, we woke up in Nightmerica. And all I see is propaganda. Propaganda.
You should not be meeting family members who do not live in your home. You should not be going shopping except for essentials like food and medicine. And you should do this as little as you can.
Families campaigning to see more of their relatives in care homes say changes to government guidance on visiting don't go far enough. John's Campaign, a group representing families of people with dementia, say they plan to go ahead with legal action claiming they breach human rights. In lower risk areas, residents can usually have one visitor, but in higher risk areas, the advice is that visits should only happen in exceptional circumstances. The government says its priority is keeping residents safe. Alison Holt has been speaking to those affected.
The handful of times I've been able to go, Mum has got really upset and said, "Why don't you come in? You're getting wet and I can't go on like this. Nobody wants me. And why don't I just drop dead?" It's horrible, horrible.
This is the heartache behind the planned legal action.
She just couldn't understand why we couldn't go in. She just said, "Why have you dumped me here? They don't look after me." She was just desperate.
Families divided by months of tight restrictions on care home visits.
It's my belief that she died thinking that nobody loved her anymore.
Carol Tennant's mum Jean moved to a care home just before lockdown. They went from spending a lot of time together to a few visits through a window or in the garden. The 89-year-old deteriorated rapidly and died in September.
They kept COVID out, but at what cost? And I don't mean the home, I mean across the country. At what cost?
After so many COVID-related deaths in care homes, government guidance and local restrictions are there to protect residents. But Sheila Brown was moved to a nursing home knowing she was nearing the end of her life.
When somebody's on an end-of-life care pathway, the things that matter to them are family, quality of life, not quantity of life.
For months, families have been saying rather than only being able to see their relatives through windows or in gardens, they should be given key worker status with access to testing and PPE. Margaret Johnson has dementia, and key worker status would allow her daughter to spend much more precious time with her.
And use food delivery services where you can. If you don't follow the rules, the police will have the powers to enforce them, including through fines and dispersing gatherings. To ensure compliance with the government's instruction to stay at home, we will immediately close all shops selling non-essential goods, including clothing and electronic stores, and other premises, including libraries, playgrounds and outdoor gyms and places of worship. We'll stop all gatherings of more than 2 people in public, excluding people you live with, and we'll stop all social events, including weddings, baptisms and other ceremonies, but excluding funerals. Parks will remain open for exercise, but gatherings will be dispersed. No Prime Minister wants to enact measures like this. I know the damage that this disruption is doing and will do to people's lives, to their businesses and to their jobs. The way ahead is hard. And it is still true that many lives will, sadly, be lost. We are strengthening our amazing NHS with 7,500 former clinicians now coming back to the service. With the time you buy by simply staying at home, we are increasing our stocks of equipment. We are accelerating our search for treatments. We're pioneering work on a vaccine.
The UK is set to become the first country in the world to deliberately infect volunteers with coronavirus to speed up the race to get a vaccine. Healthy volunteers under the age of 30 will be paid to take part in the human challenge trials, and they'll be monitored for side effects for up to a year. Our medical editor Fergus Walsh reports.
Get it. Estefania wants to be deliberately infected with coronavirus,
Good girl.
all in the name of science. She's part of One Day Sooner, a group which is campaigning for so-called challenge trials.
For a young, healthy person, the probabilities of me dying or anything is very, very low. And so when I think about what society gains by getting a vaccine sooner, I'm not that worried about the risks.
Thousands of people like Edward are part of COVID vaccine trials, but it could be months before we know whether the jab protects them against coronavirus. In a challenge trial, volunteers are immunised and then infected with the virus, so it's clear straight away if the vaccine works. Scientists need to know how much coronavirus is required to ensure that the volunteers get infected. So the first people on the trials won't get a vaccine, they'll simply get a predetermined dose of coronavirus. Now, amazingly, there are thousands of people ready to sign up for this sort of thing.
So up to 2 weeks they were spending here, so they'll be closely monitored.
Those taking part will need to be aged between 18 and 30 and are likely to receive around £4,000. But what about the potential dangers of getting COVID-19?
So we're only going to be inoculating people who have the very lowest potential risk for a severe outcome. The trial has been designed that they will have very minimal disease, potentially not even any symptoms.
Gary is a challenge trial veteran. He's had malaria as part of one study. And this is him drinking a solution laced with typhoid bacteria. The experimental typhoid vaccine he was trialling worked and is now saving lives.
Really the confirmation that you really were part of something which really made a huge difference to lives around the world. You know, we're talking hundreds of thousands of people that can now benefit from a typhoid vaccine. But yeah, that was pretty fantastic.
The world owes a debt of gratitude to all medical volunteers, but especially those ready to get a disease. Challenge studies don't replace conventional trials, but they might just speed up the process of finding out which coronavirus vaccines work best. Fergus Walsh, BBC News.
And we are buying millions of testing kits that will enable us to turn the tide on this invisible killer.
They're justified and they're ancient and they like to roam the land. They're justified and they're ancient. I hope you understand.
Everyone from the supermarket staff to the transport workers to the carers to the nurses and doctors on the front line. We will beat the coronavirus and we will beat it together. And therefore, I urge you, at this moment of national emergency, to stay at home, protect our NHS, and save lives.
Right now it's time to sing out the dance.
The lyrics will flow, yo, for the words I speak. Rap is weak, so I teach and I reach. A positive vibe, a way of life is how I'm living. So get hyped to the rhythm. KLF is the crew you hear, yeah. Design a rhyme I just won't fear. Back to react, enough is enough. Let me ask you a question. What time is love? What time is love? What time is love? What time is love? Chance to advance, you might hallucinate, exaggerate, I devastate. We had to pass a pyramid blaster. The jams are here, it's what you've been after. I make you shake to, break you, take to, right in the path for what they call the moo-moo. KLF, boy, we come rough. Bring the break. What time is love? What time is love? Love, 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 love. What time is love? This calls for anesthetic. Get to step two, let an MC come in effect with King Boy D. I wanna be, gonna be, old time sucker. You know the time, I never stutter. A feat, a dream, and yet see bright. Yeah, pass the mic. What time is love? What time is love? What time is love? What time is love?
They're justified and they're ancient and they like to roam the land. They're justified and they're ancient. I hope you understand. They don't want to upset the apple cart and they don't want to cause any harm. But if you don't like what they